All right, so we're still dealing with integration by U substitution. In this case, we're not using E, now we're using the trig functions. So usually when you see trig functions, especially in a compound function where there are two variables or two different variables, you will know that your substitution will need to come to play. All right, so let's start with example one. We have to integrate cos 6x dx. So remember the steps with your substitution. Step one, you determine u. All right, so in the case of trig functions, your u is usually the number in the brackets or your variable or your term in the bracket, right? All the time. The term that's going to be in the brackets, that's going to be your u. So in this case, our u equals 6x. Step two, we need to derive u, right? We need to derive u. So we say du equals, we derive 6x. When we derive 6x, we're going to get 6. After you derive, always put a dx, okay? So the derivative is 6 dx. Step 3, what we're going to need to do is make dx the subject of the formula. So in this case, to make dx the subject to the formula, we need to divide both sides by 6. So du over 6, that's what our dx equals. All right. Now we can now replace everything. So we have the integral of cos u. All right, we'll replace 6x with u, and then dx we replace it with du over 6. So as I said earlier on, we need the du by itself. We want our integral to look like this: cos u du. All right, so that we can integrate properly. So in order to get rid of the 6 in the denominator, we just take it out of the integral sign. So it's going to be 1 over 6, because du over 6 is the same as 1 du over 6. Okay, so we remain with 1 over 6, the integral of cos u du. Now we can integrate our trig function. So the integral of cosine is sine. All right, so we're going to have 1 sine u over 6 plus c. All right, then we need to replace our u with 6x. All right, so our answer becomes sine 6x over 6 plus c. All right, now let's look at a second example here. In this case, we have two different variables. We've got 6 and sine 6x. So here we see that we can use u substitution. All right, because we've spotted a trig function. All right, so first things first, we go to step 1. We need to determine our u. And as I said, with trigonometric functions, your u is always going to be the number in the brackets. So we'll say u is going to equal to 6x. Step 2, we need to derive u. So we're going to say du equals, the derivative of 6x is 6 dx. After you derive, always put dx. Step 3, make dx the subject of the formula. So you're going to say dx, divide both sides by u. So dx, just as earlier on, it will be du over 6. So we're going to rearrange. So we're going to say integral of 6 sine u replace the x with du over 6. Okay, then these sixes can cancel each other out. 6 out there, 6 out. So remain with the integral of sine u du. So the integral of sine is negative cosine, so it's a negative cos u plus c. So our integral is going to be negative cos, substitute u, 6x plus c. And that is our answer. So always remember, with integration, especially if you see sine functions and even the natural log functions, you're going to be using u substitution.